It was one of those hearings where the room gets quiet, not because of drama, but because the facts start speaking louder than the talking points. Senator Gary Peters asked a series of pointed, methodical questions that demanded clarity, transparency, and accountability from the Department of Homeland Security. The discussion was intense, detailed, and raised important questions about cost, procedure, and compliance. This wasn't political theater. This was oversight. The hearing covered several major topics: border security and the estimated cost of new infrastructure, the use of detention facilities, including Guantanamo Bay, the legal requirement for DHS to notify Congress about organizational changes. These issues aren't new, but the combination of numbers, timelines, and procedural questions created a moment that viewers couldn't ignore. And in the center of it all was Secretary Kristi Noem, answering questions on behalf of the department. It began with the numbers. Senator Peters emphasized that Congress needs accurate, complete cost estimates in order to approve funding. That includes not only construction, but also the auxiliary systems that make any physical barrier effective: technology, surveillance, personnel, and maintenance. He highlighted a point often raised by security experts. A wall alone isn't a complete security solution. It's part of a broader system. The concern wasn't about the concept itself, but about the precision of the data being used to justify billions in spending. Peters pressed for clarity, accuracy, and transparent documentation. These questions are routine in oversight hearings and essential for proper budgeting. Then the conversation shifted. Senator Peters addressed reports that individuals detained for civil immigration violations, not criminal charges, were being transported to Guantanamo Bay for processing or temporary holding. He shared what he learned during a recent visit with several colleagues. The operational costs appeared high. The facility had many unused beds during the visit. Transporting detainees back and forth raises logistical questions. He compared the approximate daily cost of standard immigration detention facilities within the U.S. to the significantly higher operational costs reported at Guantanamo. His request to DHS was simple and procedural: provide detailed cost documentation to Congress so oversight committees can evaluate the efficiency and necessity of such transfers. This is a standard, lawful request in line with congressional oversight responsibilities. The most consequential moment came when Peters referenced Section 872 of the Homeland Security Act of 2002. This statute requires DHS to notify Congress 60 days before making structural or organizational changes within the department. This includes changes to offices, staffing levels, responsibilities, or internal divisions, unless those changes are already mandated by law. Peters stated that he had not received the required notifications, particularly concerning staffing changes in offices such as civil rights and civil liberties. Secretary Noem responded that the offices were still operational, and that adjustments were made to improve efficiency. She added that DHS would provide notice if a change required it. The exchange wasn't about disagreement on policy, it was about following procedure, something Congress is legally obligated to enforce. This is the kind of conversation that defines checks and balances. What made this hearing stand out wasn't conflict, it was clarity. The senators' questions focused on prope documentation, legal compliance, responsible spending, transparency in decision-making. These are responsibilities that belong to every administration regardless of party. This wasn't about blaming or defending. It was about getting answers the public deserves, in a system where elected officials oversee how agencies operate. The seriousness of the tone reflected the seriousness of the issues. Senator Peters concluded by emphasizing that transparency is a responsibility, not a preference. Congress cannot evaluate policy decisions without information. The public cannot understand policy without clear communication. And agencies cannot operate outside of the accountability framework laid out in federal law. These hearings exist for one reason: to ensure that our institutions operate within the rule of law and serve the public interest. Oversight isn't an attack. It's a requirement of a constitutional system. What we saw in this hearing was a reminder of how democracy works at its best, through questions, clarity, and accountability. Whether it's budgeting for border security, reviewing detention practices, or ensuring internal procedures follow statutory requirements, these conversations matter. And here at Capitol Watch, we'll continue bringing you clear, factual breakdowns of the moments that shape public policy. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. The more informed we are, the stronger our democracy becomes.